Hello, this is a video on how to use secant method to solve the problem in GAMS. So we have this function f of x equals e to the power of minus x, and we are to use the initial guesses 0 and 1 because for secant method, you need two initial guesses. So this is basically secant method. So xi plus 1 is equal to xi minus the function evaluated at xi multiplied by the difference between the values of x, the previous value, the current value, and the next value that you want to evaluate is that. So divided by the function evaluated at the previous value minus the function evaluated at the current value. So we want to find the next value. So using the current and the previous. Okay. So how do you do this? Define a counter tolerance that you want to allow maximum iterations and the two initial guesses that you want to use. So in this case, we want to, the two initial guesses will be xi and xi minus 1 so that we can use those two initial guesses to find xi plus 1. How do you do that? So while the error we are going to get, we'll see how to calculate the error in a minute, is greater than the tolerance that you want to allow, and the maximum iteration is not reached, then what do? These are the steps that you will follow in the code. Apply the secant method. So you can use a while loop for this. So you set a while, sort of a while loop, and then you apply the secant method first using those two initial guesses, and then after doing that, then that help you calculate. That will help you to calculate xi plus 1. And then you evaluate the function at that new value of x, and then determine the error. So this is basically the absolute value of the function evaluated at the current value that you just calculated, xi plus 1, which is basically the next value, which is the value you just calculated. Now, why absolute value? You want to, because what you want to do is you want to find the value of x that will make f equal to 0. So it is possible that it could be on either side. It could be on the negative side or on the positive side. So but what is important is how far you are from 0. So that's why you need the magnitude of that error, of that function evaluated at that x value. Okay, so you take the absolute value, then after that, you increment the counter, basically add 1 to the counter. You need to start with a counter, and then you increment it, you move it to the next iteration. Then update the value of x, which is that basically you do xi minus 1 equals xi, and xi is now equal to the value you just calculated. And you continue, and you do the second iteration and so on. So this continues until the condition is no longer met. Okay? So let's see how you can do this in GAMS. Okay, so I have the code already implemented. I have the parameters. I've declared the parameters x, x0, x1, xi. It's x1. This is basically xi minus 1, according to in the slide I showed you earlier. And this is xi. So the x is the current value, which is xi plus 1. So f is a function. Then eta is basically the iteration, so it's like the counter. Then error, maximum iteration, and the tolerance. So I've defined some values for max 8 and the tolerance that I want to allow. And x0 is 0, initial guess, x1 is 1. So this is basically xi minus 1, and this is xi. And we start from 0. So we initialize iteration. So I'm just initializing these parameters. So the error, just initialize that as well with a value, to be any value. Now, what I've done is to create a file. I want to write the solution to a file. Then use the while loop while the error is greater than the tolerance I've set, and the iteration, the eta, is less than the maximum iteration, to continue. So when this condition is not met, then it's going to stop. So that's when the iteration will stop. Okay. Now the first, apply the secant method. So we evaluate x is basically xi plus 1. This is xi, and the function, this is fxi, then multiply by xi minus 1 minus xi divided by, then evaluate the function at xi minus 1 minus evaluate the function at xi. Okay, so that's basically the secant method. Then evaluate the function to determine the error. Sorry, evaluate f, which is evaluate the function at the new value, which is f. Then determine the error by calculating the absolute value of that function, and then write to a file. So what I want to do here is to write to that file. So set the file as the current working file. Then write maximum iteration, write the new value of x, the function, and the error. Okay, after doing that, then increment the counter. So add 1 to it. So we move to the next. And then update the values of x. So your xi minus 1 is now xi, and xi is now xi plus 1. So that I can continue the iteration. Then you close the loop. Okay. So if you run this, you should be able to. Then if you run that, and then go to the file, so this is basically my result. So, and you can see that the error goes to 0 here. So because the error goes to 0, then just 3 iterations. Okay, I hope that helps. That's how to do our secant method in GAMS. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.